Yeah.
Charles in Fort Worth.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! You're live with Eric and Jamie. How's it going?
It's going good. So, how's everybody doing?
We just had a couple really heavy calls that I'm sure you heard. So
yeah, my heart's sitting down in my stomach.
My situation is.
Yeah.
All right.
So
what did
Charles,
you want to talk about?
Well, actually, Charles called in before.
That's right.
Charles, you gave a definition of spiritual that I hadn't heard before.
Actually, yeah.
So I guess the first question is, yes, can you
give us a
definition of spiritual?
What do you believe, Charles?
And then also, I don't want you to feel like I'm going to jump in with a gotcha. I'm going to ask you if you recognize that other people don't use that definition, right?
Like spiritual energy, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Actually, it's common in the I guess you would say in the pagan community. Like we use that a lot because I was talking to somebody earlier, and he was like, he used the same terms, and I was like, well, that's kind of what I use too. I was like, so I guess it's common between pagans, but that's where I wanted to ask y'all, because what we might call like spiritual energy, or like Christians might call it the spirit or whatever, but it was kind of like what do y'all think?
Well,
and kind of clear that up.
Well, let's clear up first off. You, when you called before, had said that spiritual energy was electricity, and then I said, okay, that's a weird definition, and then you started calling it other things.
Like an energy and like a light.
And then you said, if I remember right, you said it's knowing things, it's not knowing things, and it's learning things. So it's everything, but not quite. Like, can you see how, like, I can identify a mug in my hand, and I can tell you about it, and not tell you that it's everything and nothing at once, which makes the definition of a mug useful. Right? If you can't even define it in a clear and coherent way, how can you begin to convince us that it's real? Right?
I know, like, when I had my near-death experience and I died and I went to this other place.
What does that have to do with the definition of the word spiritual, Charles?
But she was like...
Hold on, Charles. I asked you about the definition of the word spiritual. We can talk about your near-death experience after we're done talking about the definition of the word spiritual. Because what happens in these conversations is they go down rabbit trails and we never get anywhere. Right? Wouldn't it be better to finish talking about the thing we're talking about?
Spiritual is like an energy that's within you. Like we all have an energy.
Okay. Can that energy be measured?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that different than electrical impulses?
Probably so. Now that I did more research. Yeah. Okay.
How is it different from electrical impulses, and how is it measured?
Well, I know they can put like electrical devices on us, and that helps us.
But you just said it can be
different than what I was thinking.
Yeah, you said electric impulses is not it. So using cathodes, using different ways to measure electrical energy would not be useful if you're talking about something that's not electrical, correct?
Yeah, I would need to know more about science, and I don't really know as much into the science and the mathematic part of it. But
so what has convinced you that it's true? And first, before we get to it, see, I'm getting down the rabbit hole again too. Definition of spiritual.
Yeah.
Right? What is spiritual, and why is it so damn hard to pin down?
I think because usually something that's like spiritual and supernatural, it's like from another realm, it's like from
I don't.
And like even though we have a little bit of it, it's just
a little bit of what?
We can't really touch it.
Touch what?
Whatever's on the other side.
What other side of what?
Yeah, the realm.
What realm?
Portal. The other side.
Other side of what? Charles, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Wherever the light is.
Where's you mean the sunlight?
No.
We have
there's a
lights in
place.
this studio. Are you talking about the studio lights?
No. When you die, you go to a place.
Okay, so are you saying
and
the
there's
place
and it's a light.
that you're saying you go when you die
Mhm.
is the definition of the word spiritual?
No, that energy that is within you is the spiritual energy.
Okay,
But
so how?
because
So
right
so
now,
you just
like,
used
your
you just
body-
used a
your
word
body
about
is just a
electric.
shell.
You just used an electricity word again, right? What is energy, Charles?
It's like a ball of light, a ball of energy.
Can you understand why that makes
Like an
zero
orb.
sense?
You ever seen orbs?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've held glass orbs. I've played marbles before.
Yeah.
You know,
Like a spirit orb.
no.
You mean like
Have
in
you?
a picture?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I would start by
Have you investigated?
researching
Yeah.
photography.
Have you investigated that, or did you just take on,
No, actually, I used to go and investigate stuff because I'm a sensitive empath, so I can sense portals and like spirits and stuff.
Charles?
I've been invited to houses and people have been like, hey, how do I cleanse my house and stuff like that.
Cleanse?
And I usually go in there and I help them.
How are you? Okay, Charles,
Sorry.
I'm so sorry that it's coming off as me being angry at you. I'm angry that somewhere
No,
down
I
this
understand.
path
I'm
of your
unique.
life. Well, no, I'm just somewhere down this path of your life. You've picked up these tools that have led you to believe that you can find
there's no
portals
picking
in the
up
real
tools. There's
world.
just, I was
No,
born unique and different, and I've always thought I was weird.
that's
And then when I understood that I have a gift,
Charles. That's
and
because
when I figured I had this gift, I was able to use it,
okay, Charles.
and I've helped people.
Do you recognize that everybody wants to be unique and different?
No, really, I am unique and different.
Okay, do you recognize that everybody wants to be unique and different?
No, actually, when I was born,
No, I'm not
I
asking
wanted
you
to be
about
normal.
you. I'm actually asking you about, right? That's because you felt like you were different. Do you recognize that everybody
No,
wants to
I
be
am
special in
different.
some way?
Well, there is. I've never met anybody like me.
I'm not asking about people being like you, Charles. I'm asking you if you understand that people want to be special in some way.
Well, I understand that.
Okay, good. Now we can start somewhere, right? I'm not talking about you getting some magic powers. Charles, I'm talking about the cognitive tools that you use to determine truth from not truth, right? Because you are describing a reality that is so different from the reality that we're in that I don't even know where to begin.
So, well, is that...
I've been Dominic. Go ahead, man.
No, it's good. I didn't want to cut you off. You were on a vein there. So, Charles,
Yes, sir.
you're an individual, and no one else in the world is exactly like you.
Oh,
But-
no.
But people say, oh, no, I'm special, I have a gift, about all kinds of things. And sometimes they're wrong. So what I will say is, if we get to a point in this conversation where you come to the conclusion, oh, actually, I haven't been helping people cleanse their houses or whatever, I just want you to know right now that you are still special and still an individual and still capable of helping people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this view of the world should not be tied into your self-esteem or idea of self. You should be Charles first, and then beliefs that you hold about the world should follow after that and separately, right? Do you understand what I'm saying with that as a suggestion?
Yeah, I understand it's a little weird. I mean, if you probably don't understand me, then it's just like how does somebody like him exist? And it's like,
No, I mean,
I was born this way.
to be clear, it's not you that we're losing understanding. It's the way you're describing existence.
We actually
right?
have somebody in the live chat who says that they can also help give the definition of spiritual energy. Can we pick that person up when they call in? Because it'd be fun. Sorry to interrupt, Jimmy.
Yeah, you're fine. So here's the thing, is there are magnificent and wonderful ways of describing reality, right? Like wormholes, black holes, stars, physics,
Yeah.
right? Things that we can test, we find. And when we just describe them, describe like the outcome. Oh, if I mix these two chemicals, I can make a volcano happen. If you didn't have any understanding of the, like a, you know what I mean, like a science fair project.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah.
Although if you detonated a bomb, you could probably make one happen as well. But if you didn't have an understanding of how that would work, that would be indistinguishable from magic, right? Magic is something mysterious that happens that's just beyond our understanding, right? The mechanism of which is beyond our understanding, right? To most people going around today, even in the US that use smartphones or tablets or computers, that computer works basically just like magic to them because having an understanding of how operating systems work and drivers and hardware and software and firmware, et cetera, isn't something that they spend their time doing, and they get through it just fine, right? And so trying to apply that same sort of go along, get along, well, I don't understand everything that I use, but I know how it works, can be problematic when we start applying it to things that are magical, that contradict the basis for common human understanding, right? Humans understand now, and I think you agree, that the germ theory of disease is the best way of describing how the flu spreads. So we wash our hands, we try and take our vitamins, we get flu shots, hopefully. If someone came forward before we had any understanding of the germ theory of disease and said, I think that if you stick this piece of metal in your arm, magic will happen and you will be less likely to get the flu, right? This will help your body fight the flu. If you had no understanding of biology, anatomy, the germ theory of disease, that would be ridiculous. And I have a very limited understanding of those subjects, and so it is. And so I place a level of trust in an understanding of the world around me based on very, very logical, stringent ways of examining the world. And if someone were to say to me, as they have many times, because I go to various parts of the internet, no, vaccines are dangerous and they cause this, that, and the other, if I wanted to respond to them in an educated way, I would go and I would find people whose entire lives are dedicated to the study and understanding
I just
of
think
viruses.
just don't do the vaccine when you're pregnant, though.
Hold on, Charles. What I will say is, and I would trust that my rationalizing things that I've seen in the world is not a reliable way for me to come to conclusions about how viruses do what they do. And if someone told me, you can have psychic powers, and I said, how does that work? And there wasn't a sufficient way for them to explain the mechanism for how that works, I wouldn't believe it. Right? Would you accept, oh, X, Y, and Z can happen without an understanding of the mechanism for it, right? Like doctors don't do surgery without understanding every single part of the anatomy because surgery is very important. So I think that if you're going to fire a gun, you should know how it works. If you're going to perform surgery, you should know how the body works. And if you're going to say that you purge people's houses of spiritual energy, you should have an understanding of the basic mechanisms of what you're talking about to the same degree that a doctor has an understanding of the nervous system. And I don't see that happening here.
Oh, well, I do know the tools to use.
What are those tools?
Cleansing the house, so, I mean, that, and I am comfortable in my craft enough to help somebody in whatever they need me to do.
So let's get this. You're cleansing the house of what?
Usually it's like somebody could have lived there before. Let's say you lived in a house, or before you lived in a house, and you moved into a place, and it just has this negative feeling, and you want it to feel.
Do you mean
light.
that I have a negative feeling about the house?
No, like yeah, you might feel like hey, the house feels it just feels negative, like it doesn't have.
Do you mean that I have a negative feeling about the house, or that the house is telling me that it doesn't like me? With words.
Well, like you feel like there's like the house has a negative vibe to it.
What's a vibe?
Like vibration.
Do you think that things vibrate with emotions?
There's like let's say like I'm around you and I'm pissed off and I'm an angry person and I walk away. There's still that negative vibration that's around you.
Here's what I will say, Charles, is I have used the word vibe in a similar way to the way that you have used it, but I've used it as an expression of the way that I feel or that people feel in a situation, and not to describe an oscillation back and forth over a central point or a vibration. Because a vibration, like a literal vibration in that sentence, does not accurately describe the world. Like, do you see what I mean? Where like that's a use of the word vibe that doesn't actually like refer to vibration, or at least I wouldn't use it that way.
Well, we always call it like it's a bad vibe, you know, like it's like a bad feeling.
Yeah,
like there's something like let's say somebody's sitting right next to you, and you just like, man, why is that person? The vibe I'm getting off them seems so like dark and
yeah. So here's the thing, though. A synonym can be used. The impression of this person I am getting is this, or as I am, observing this person or aware of this person, I feel bad about them, or I feel threatened by them, or et cetera. But I don't think that has anything to do with literal energy or literal vibration. I think we're using, here, Charles, I think we're using metaphorical language to describe the complexities of human psychology, right? Like humans' brains do all kinds of wild stuff with very limited stimuli. And that's where I think this is coming from. Because the way I feel about a house happens in my brain.
Like there's like a negative feeling around there. You don't ever get physically sick. I do. I mean, I guess it might be because I'm an empath, but
okay. So you keep using that word, really negative, and I don't think that word means what you think it means.
I just can't shake it. I'll physically throw up.
Okay, Charles.
So yeah,
dude. Let's break this down a little bit more. Yeah. Jamie did a really good job of describing those differences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to pick up that you are not just mixing metaphor with reality.
Yep.
But I also think that based on your description, you have a very different understanding of what emotions are, right? So an emotion is something that happens in your brain, right?
Yeah.
Rocks don't have emotions. Dead people don't have emotions, right? We have emotions because we have working brains. How can an emotion exist outside of a brain?
Because your brain and your body is connected to your spiritual energy.
How? Where? Does it plug in? Is there like a spot where you can be like, oh, there's this? Can I cut somebody open and find their spiritual energy?
When you die, your spiritual energy goes to wherever it goes.
How? Wait. Well, hold on a second. You're describing something, first off, that's ridiculous. But second off, you're describing something happening.
You don't have to believe it. It's
No. I want to know true things. Do you want to know true things?
Well,
do you want to know true things, Charles? Yes or no?
I learned the hard way.
Charles, do you? Okay, do you want to know true things or not? Yes or no?
But you never died and went to the other side.
You don't know me, do you, Charles?
You don't know me either.
So you can't say what I have and have not done and haven't had
if you died
experience.
And went to the other side and met somebody like I did, then you would have been like, hey, I understand, I've been there.
Yeah, disgustingly presumptive. We've had people who've died who've called in and said that they didn't experience that. So you're wrong.
Then they went to the dark place.
No, you're just wrong. But Charles, let's go back.
Wrong.
Okay, I can actually show you. Right? I can show you these things. These are things that I can point you to and don't have to be there. I can actually say, go to a college or go learn biology. I could say, open a book about these things.
They were about to
right? So hold on, Charles. Let's double back here because you need to describe, Charles, you need to describe what this ball of energy is and how you can tell that it exists before you can tell where it goes. Do you understand that? You need to actually show that it's a thing that exists in the first place.
And the thing is when I was dead and the woman was there.
Oh my gosh, Charles.
The paramedic.
No, so we're going to go back, right? Because again, I'm saying you need to describe, you need to show that it's there in the first place before you can talk about experiences of it. Because I need to know that it exists before I start looking at what it does, right? So can I cut someone open and find a ball of light? Yes or no?
No, because it's a otherworldly piece of that we have.
Okay, can you demonstrate another world outside of this one?
Yeah, there's
Show me.
the 9 worlds.
Okay, show me that.
There's Asgard. Let me see. There's Asgard. There's hell.
These are stories and books, Charles, but these aren't real places.
These are real places.
Okay, have you been there, Charles?
Anaheim.
Actually, no, I don't even believe you anymore. Honestly, I don't think you're a Poe, but I don't think you have the tools to determine fantasy and reality.
No, there's you see things only one dimensional, and actually it's like 3 to 4 to 8D. You know, there's like so many dimensions to reality.
So I mean, let's. You're saying that there are these different dimensions.
Yes.
Okay.
Portals.
How can I find a portal and go through one?
Well, you can work on your meditation.
Okay, hold on a second. So actually, if I meditate and put a camera on myself, will I disappear, Charles?
Do you know how to astroform?
That is, whoa. So I've tripped balls before, not going down the rabbit trail. Can I go through a portal? Actually, no. Hold on. Why are we going down this rabbit trail in the first place? What is a ball of energy, Charles? You did it again.
Okay. When you die, then your energy goes.
Okay.
That's why
demonstrate it. Demonstrate it.
You can only demonstrate it if you die and go to the other side.
I've worked in hospitals, Charles. I never saw a ball of light.
But you notice when the life goes, don't you?
Actually, no, not right away. There are indicators that we look for to determine.
Like the wind just went through
my
them
gosh.
and they're gone.
Yeah.
Okay, I honestly think you're unhelpable. But I really wish you were. If you could find a portal that I can walk through, right, and not trick my mind into imagining, I will get a camera and I will drive to Fort Worth and I will walk through that portal and I will put it on Talk Heathen.
You don't believe anything.
Oh no, I don't have to believe a thing if it's true. It'll just be true or not.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need to accept a thing for it to be true. Either it is true or it's not true. Find the portal. I'll bring the camera. I will drive to Fort Worth and walk through the portal.
You want me to teach you? I'll teach you.
Can you teach? Wait, I thought I'd just go through a portal.
No, you have to work on it.
Oh, you have to work on the portal. Okay, then how is that different from sticking your own head up your ass and just imagining it, dude?
Okay, let's be honest. You're an atheist. You don't even use your energy, your spiritual energy anyway.
Alrighty then, Charles.
Yeah, you go.
Charles, now we're getting personal, and I don't think that that's helpful or constructive for the conversation.
It's not personal. It's just,
you saying,
it's just
sorry,
the
Charles,
truth.
let me just say,
Charles, let me just say,
the last thing you said was, well, let's be honest, you're an atheist. You don't even use your energy. That's you addressing Eric and not the issue. That's you saying, oh, well, it's all about you and who you are, and that's why this conversation is going the way it is. I think it would be better if we address the ideas that we're talking about rather than it inching towards
personal attack. Yeah,
personal attacks.
I'm asking what the fuck a ball of energy is, not who the fuck Charles is.
Yeah,
right. Because
it's your soul.
Okay, you need to actually.
Do you even believe you have a soul?
No, because nobody's been able to show that it's a thing.
Yeah.
You actually need to show. You saying I want to teach you, but you won't believe. Do you think you should believe a thing is true before you actually determine it's true? Is that how anything works?
Well, you're the one that sees everything one-dimensional.
No, Charles, you're the one who said one-dimensional. let's.
I know, but how are you to know that there's another world and there's other realities?
When there's
than this
evidence
one,
for it.
If you don't,
When there's evidence for it, Jamie got
Charles,
it perfectly.
Let's
scientists are trying to work on it. I mean,
cool.
I can
And if
only
they're
describe
trying to
what
work on it,
what
it
I've
means
been
they
through.
haven't worked on it yet, and it means that now is not a time when we have sufficient evidence. That's how that goes.
And
When
Charles,
scientists are looking
Yes.
for life on Mars and water on other worlds, and we don't come to the conclusion, oh, there is life on Mars, oh, there is water that's liquid in other places, until we find the evidence.
the null position up until that point is I don't know,
That's a cool idea. I don't think that it's true until I have a reason to believe that it's true.
which is the same as
I
the
mean,
soul.
they have made a lot of devices for kids with disabilities. I've seen some pretty cool stuff that they're coming out with.
I agree,
I
and that's
agree.
because a whole lot of people didn't take.
I think that's not having to do with a soul.
Actually, though, I think the methodology that gets to technology that you're talking about,
Would be a good one to look in
yes,
on.
because that methodology is counter to the one you're using and trying to espouse. Do you understand that? What technology has spiritual energy given us? Do I use my I mean, really, can I, if I work real hard, can I do a Kamehameha wave? Just
I mean, well, you don't.
can I
have to
kill
believe
people with the
because
power of my mind? Can I levitate
'cause
things, Charles?
If you don't believe or you do believe it, you do have it. It's you.
Okay,
It's,
can
it's
anybody do those things?
So-
Can anybody in real life do a Kamehameha wave? Right? Can anybody
if you
create
If you
fire
work
in their
on
hands?
channeling your energy, then you could use it to do just about anything.
Cool. Find a person who can do that. If they're in Fort Worth, I'll drive there. Find
I'm an
it.
empath, so I can show you all what I can do.
Okay.
But what I've learned is other people in the craft they all have something unique about them.
Okay. You know what? I'm actually
Did you
going to
say
video
in
chat
there?
you if you want. We can sit there
Yeah.
and you can show me. Will it show up on video? Can I see it? Can I record it and maybe win a Nobel Prize or something?
You'd have to share it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. I think
So-
I can only feel it.
So here's what I'm going to say. I think that Charles, that just for today, we're probably going to have to wrap up this call and move on. I'm certainly willing to get on the phone and chat with you again. I just don't want to. We've got other callers as well. Are we going to be able to get you back on the line?
Yeah, I like you guys. I just know that we're just it's like we're like from two different worlds.
I think you might be right there.
Yeah.
But
And I'm so
I will
sorry.
say, yeah, no, I mean, hey, that's the mark of a friendly conversation. You can disagree and come back next week.
We just have two different points of view.
I want you to have the best tools possible. And right now it frustrates me because you keep saying a thing is true and then you can't demonstrate it. And instead of giving us proof or demonstration, you talk about, having gone somewhere else and astral projected or died and gone to another plane of existence. And instead of actually pinning down and talking about one thing, you just shoot out a ton of other crap that also can't be explained instead of just focusing on a thing. And
Well, I think
it worries me. No, it worries me, Charles, that you would use that as reasoning in your real life. Because if you're using that kind of thought in your real life, do you understand that somebody can walk up and say, "Oh, hey, this is a miracle
I'm just
cure.
saying, like,
If you take
when
this
I died,
miracle
I went
cure,
wherever.
it's
I
going
want
to."
learn all about that.
Hold on,
Like,
Charles.
What was that place?
Charles, if somebody comes to you and says, "I have a miracle cure, it'll make you live for 100 years. It costs you $20,000."
Oh no, I
Would
don't
you
want
give them that $20,000?
No.
But if they said it works,
I don't
why
wanna-
won't you
I
take
don't want
it?
to be here for 100 years.
Whatever, something you want.
It will make you an even better empath.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to
Because if that's the
live
truth,
a peaceful life.
I've got I've got a mug of, I don't know, liquid. Help me here, super strength. Right? If you drink this, you'll turn invisible and you'll be super strong. For
You'll have all
half an hour.
the
Will you buy it, Charles? Will you buy my magical mug of liquid? Yes or no?
Nah.
Why?
Why do I want super strength for?
Do you think that think that the liquid in this mug can do those magical things that I just said?
Even if it did, I wouldn't want it.
No, I don't want you to tell me even if it did. I'm asking you, yes or no, does the liquid in this cup make you turn invisible and become super strong?
What do you think about that liquid?
Yes or no?
Well, I mean, they got like steroids and stuff like that, but I don't want any of that.
Do you think steroids are in this cup? And steroids don't turn you invisible.
I don't know.
So
you might be trying to Rupert me, man.
or you might be dodging the question, Charles.
Yeah. So I think, Charles, yes, no, or I don't know. Eric has a magic cup of superhero juice.
Da-da-da.
Yeah, he probably doesn't.
Okay, how did you determine that I don't have a cup of superhero juice?
What led you to that position?
I really didn't. I didn't care about it myself. I was like, it wasn't something I was interested in, so I was like,
Okay, then replace that with something you're interested in. Do you understand why we're making this point, Charles? Because
I think we might be missing it, yeah.
Yeah, you need to be determining what is true and what is not. And just because I say it's true doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
You need to be able to develop a tool set, a mental tool set to help you determine reality from fiction. Because otherwise, you are going to be taken advantage of. You can be robbed blind by terrible people.
oh no, I say to myself.
You what?
Well, no, you said I'd be robbed blind, but I say to myself, I'm cautious with who I'm around.
In what was that movie? Guardians of the Galaxy. It didn't go over my head. I would catch it. It's
Yep.
It's actually completely missing the point. We're trying to give you the tool set to determine truth from fiction.
Yeah.
What the hell does you keeping to yourself have to do with determining truth from fiction, Charles? Please help me here. I don't understand.
It's a miscommunication because he's responding to the other part of what you said.
Yeah.
So, Charles, the way that people determine whether or not something is true or false is critical to their ability to function in the world, right? If a person went around evaluating like, oh, I have an idea, maybe unicorns are real. I have an idea, maybe if I jump off this cliff, I'll live. And for every decision that they were going to make about what they were going to do, they just flipped a coin and used no other method and listened to no one else. I think that you and I would agree that that would be a pretty dangerous way of going about life.
Unless they're talking about the rhino. They used to call the one-horned rhino the unicorn back in the day.
Well, no. So
that has nothing to do with what he said, again.
To be clear, hold on. Imagine that I make every single decision for the rest of my life with a coin flip of everything. I think of whatever first two alternatives, a good one and a bad one, whatever, or any two suggestions that a person gives me, and the only way that I decide what I'm going to do is by flipping a coin. Do you think that that is a good way to go through life?
No, but there's some people that do that, as if you're superstitious.
So why do you think that it's not a good way to go through life?
Oh no, you're trying to live life by chance and just instead of going with the flow and enjoying life.
So what I would say is when a person is trying to make a decision about what they're going to do next, what should they do to make that decision? Right? Like I'm trying to choose between two things. How should I do that?
That's always my tough thing too. When I want two things at the same time, you just pretty much got to pick which one you want more.
Right. So you think about, how much do I want A or how much do I want to B to do B? How much I want to do A or do B? If I'm making like a serious life decision. So for example, I've gotten into 3 colleges. If I was going to determine which college I was going to go to and what major I was going to study, do you think that I should think about what I want to do with the rest of my life, whether my major is going to help me, how much those colleges cost? Or do you think that I should roll dice?
I would say overall, see which one's the best one that
Right.
suits you.
You would evaluate which decision is better, and then use your ability to evaluate those decisions to choose the best option, right? So what Eric and I are trying to explain is that if you're just going, like, I think you've said go with the flow, right? If you're believing things that are not true and you're using those beliefs to make decisions, if a person is believing things that are not true and using those false beliefs to make decisions, then they might make bad decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you think it's something bad that you're using, but
right. So, like a person that believed that I always try to use a different social issue. If there was a person that believed that like race had a scientific basis, and the various different races that we've defined socially actually have genetic components, that's not a true belief, and putting more and more energy into that might lead them to conclusions about politics and policy that are based on that would be very damaging to themselves and to other people.
That might be too broad.
It's definitely too broad.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if a person believed that bleach was good for them to drink...
Get the fuck out of my head! That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yes, that's much easier.
If a person were to believe, well, drinking bleach is good for me, that would mean they would be more likely to drink bleach and then die from drinking bleach because it's not good, right? So the thing that we're saying is there's a way to determine whether or not bleach is good for you. And right now, I think Eric has said it more explicitly than I have, we're not sure that you're using a very good method to determine whether or not things are true.
Well, I know not to put harmful chemicals.
How did you determine that it was harmful?
In my body.
How did you determine that it was poisonous?
I've researched on it.
Okay, you should
Exactly.
research everything.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Please
Well, I do,
research.
like the supernatural stuff I can do. I've researched, and there's lots of other people out there that are kind of similar to me, but a little different.
Yeah. So there's something that you and they have in common, and I think
that is that you all want to be very special, and I get it, but
So-
you have to show that you have magic powers if you're going to say you have magic powers, man.
Yeah.
And
So-
I'll follow up and try to see it. But if you're tricking yourself, isn't it better just not to trick yourself?
like
No, I mean, you should see me with animals. Like I've turned guard dogs into little puppies.
Does that have anything to do with tricking yourself, Charles?
No, it's just my energy.
No, does your energy have anything to do with tricking yourself, Charles?
I don't trick myself.
Right.
Okay, there's a response. I had to ask you 3 times, and then you responded,
yeah.
right?
Sorry.
That's
You know what
okay.
they say, third time's a charm.
Yeah. So here's what I will say is we do have
But hey, at
other.
least I got a sense of humor about it.
You do.
So
You do.
so Charles, I think you and Eric have said you're going to keep in touch throughout the week. Can we
Yes.
get you to call back next week as well?
Mail at talkheathen.com. I'll answer it. I want to get in touch with
for
you.
email, but-
I want to get a videotape of you doing magical things.
So Charles, can we get you to call back again next week as well? Maybe.
Yeah, I'll try. I mean, I know.
All right.
This year is going to be a lot busy. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully not every Sunday is busy for you, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna let you go, and we'll get some other callers in here, and we're
definitely.
gonna do this. All right, Charles.
Sure. Just keep in touch.
Will
Sounds
do.
good. Take
Thank
care,
you for
brother.
calling.
Okay.